My name is Emily Brooks. I'm 28 years old. 5 years ago, I walked out of my algorithms midterm and never went back. I was 1 year away from a computer science degree at UT Austin. It was the only thing I ever did right, according to the family. Emily the good student. I didn't party, didn't cause scenes, didn't need help. I kept my head down. They liked that about me. I got the call during class. Unknown number, 2 missed calls, then a voicemail from a neighbor in Lubbock. Your grandmother's been taken to the hospital. She fell. It was bad. I left campus with my laptop still open in my bag. At the hospital, she was awake but dazed. Her cheek was swollen, her wrist fractured, and her voice sounded like it had aged 20 years overnight. She said, "I thought I was dying." She tried to laugh. Then she cried. I stayed with her that night, slept in the chair beside her bed. I waited for someone else in the family to show up. No one did. The next morning, I called my mother. Her voice was tight. "Emily, what do you want me to do? I have meetings. I can't just drop everything." She paused, then added, "Don't embarrass us by acting dramatic." My brother said he'd check in later, but was kind of buried with LSAT prep. My stepfather was in Tennessee with his new wife, who didn't like to talk about the past. My aunts were out of state. One uncle didn't answer. The other said, "Damn, that's rough." I realized no one was coming. It would be me. I withdrew from my classes, didn't say goodbye to anyone, didn't ask for advice. It was faster that way. I rented a room a block away from Grandma's place, a worn duplex near the highway. The blinds didn't shut properly, and the floor slanted just enough that I had to wedge my chair with a book. I slept on a borrowed mattress and kept my clothes folded in a storage bin. I didn't decorate. By day, I worked at a drone supply shop just outside the city. Pay was minimum. I reboxed returns, updated inventory sheets by hand, and calibrated cameras in the back room when no one else wanted to. No one there cared about resumes. They cared about wires not crossing and rotors spinning smooth. At night, I coded. Not for a job, just to learn. Rust, Go, C++. I built simulation maps, wrote route optimizers from scratch, designed modules that could manage autonomous drops without human oversight. I didn't show anyone. Just save my builds on encrypted flash drives and watch the metrics improve. Every month, Grandma asked if I needed help. I said no. She still gave me $20 every now and then in an envelope marked groceries. She said, "You weren't raised to be small." People think dropping out means failure. They assume you didn't try, couldn't finish, weren't strong enough. They don't picture quiet decisions made in hospital rooms. They don't picture you cleaning up someone else's blood with a towel, then sitting on the edge of a tub trying not to cry so you don't scare them. After 11 months, I sent in an application for an internship at a logistics startup in Oklahoma, FreightSpark. I liked their work. Emergency routing, heat map triangulation, supply chain prioritization, real infrastructure, not another delivery app. I had no degree, no references, and no connections. I submitted anyway with a link to a dummy repo and a technical write-up on route deviation thresholds. I wrote one sentence in my cover letter. I build systems that don't fail when the road does. They responded within 4 days. I passed the phone screen, then a technical test. The engineering lead called and said, "We don't usually take uncredentialed applicants, but your logic tree's better than anything we've seen." He laughed. "Can you start in 2 weeks?" I said yes. For 2 days, I let myself imagine the next chapter. I didn't tell Grandma until it was confirmed. She smiled and nodded, like she'd already known. "When do you go?" she asked. I told her I'd start looking for housing in Tulsa that night. We stayed up late with tea and the radio on low. She said, "Don't forget who you are." 2 days later, I got another call. HR. The tone was different this time. "We regret to inform you," the voice said, "that your internship offer has been rescinded." I asked why. The woman hesitated. "We received a concern from a close family member. They claimed you were mentally unstable and unfit for a security-cleared environment. I asked who had contacted them. She said, 'I can't say officially.' Then she paused and said, quieter, "They had access to your college records and your legal name." I only knew one person with both, my mother. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I drove. 3 hours straight, no stops. She opened the door like nothing had happened. She smiled. "Emily, you look tired." I asked, "Did you call FreightSpark?" She didn't answer, just walked back inside like I was late for something. I followed her into the kitchen. The air smelled like ginger tea and floor polish. Her boyfriend's car keys were on the counter. They had a new dog. I didn't sit down. "You cost me everything," I said. She leaned on the fridge and shrugged. "You're not made for that world, Emily. You think they'd protect someone like you? You wouldn't survive it." I didn't argue. She didn't deserve my side of the story. People like her never hear it anyway. She only saw what I didn't finish. I left the house without another word, drove back to Lubbock in silence. Grandma didn't ask what happened. She just looked at me, nodded once, and set another plate on the table. That night, I opened a blank document and wrote 3 lines. 1. Change name. 2. Register company. 3. Build quietly. I changed my name 2 weeks later. Legally. Nothing dramatic. Just one word. I dropped Brooks and became Emily Rose. The last name came from Grandma's middle name. She cried when I told her. I registered a sole proprietorship in New Mexico. I called it Northbite. No backstory, no branding, no pitch deck. I hosted it on a private domain, paid in crypto, and used a postbox in Santa Fe as my address. I didn't tell anyone in my family. I didn't post about it online. I erased my past one record at a time. That winter, I started designing load distribution systems. Not for consumers, real systems. Rural emergency supply routes, terrain-aware drop mapping, wind-calibrated drone paths. I took contracts no one else wanted. I worked with desert fire departments, tribal emergency teams, disaster clinics in northern Arizona. I made the systems run faster, cheaper, smarter. They didn't care what school I went to. They cared that the drones landed where they were supposed to. A year in, I filed Northbite as a private LLC. I got a real bank account, hired 2 contractors, both former logistics officers, both brilliant, both underestimated. I built encryption modules, designed my own authentication layer, and trained a routing AI on 4 years of open access wildfire data. The day I signed our first Department of Defense contract, I stood in the kitchen with Grandma and poured us both a glass of orange juice. She raised hers, smiled, and said, "Took them long enough." That night, I got an email from a VC firm asking if I'd be willing to take a casual call. I didn't respond. A week later, FreightSpark's CTO wrote me on LinkedIn, "Impressive work with the Nevada base install. Would love to connect sometime." I blocked him. No one in my family knew, only Grandma. She was the only one who ever said, "Try." The only one who didn't flinch when I failed. One afternoon, I found a small envelope taped to my laptop. Her handwriting was shaky, but clear. "This is all I have. I believe in what you're building. Please don't stop now." Inside was a check for $2,800. She had emptied her savings for me. I deposited it in person and didn't tell her it cleared. That was 4 years ago. The rest, well, that part comes later. But everything started here. In that quiet year everyone forgot, when I was just the girl who dropped out, the one who overreacted, the one who didn't finish. I finished something else instead. I moved to Santa Fe under the name Emily Rose. No middle name, no suffix. I didn't tell my family I was leaving. I didn't say goodbye. Grandma helped me pack the car. She gave me a bag of trail mix and said, "Remember, they only notice once it's built." I found a 1-bedroom unit over a defunct print shop. The walls were thin. The floor creaked when I turned in bed. There was no stove, just a microwave and a hot plate that smelled like dust. I kept the windows closed. I didn't want neighbors. I wasn't there to belong. I registered Northbite Logistics as an LLC using the P.O. box I'd rented off Cerrillos Road. I opened a separate checking account, ordered business checks, and filed for a small business EIN. I used a different mailing address for every account I opened. I ran my own penetration tests weekly. Nothing pointed back to Lubbock. Nothing linked me to the girl who dropped out of UT Austin with one class left to finish. The first 6 months were quiet. I cold emailed every rural logistics team in New Mexico, volunteer fire departments, tribal emergency response groups, old supply coordinators with broken websites and decade-old servers. I didn't pitch. I just asked what their systems couldn't do. They responded more often than I expected. Sometimes they didn't want new tools. They just wanted their maps to load faster or their data to sync when the satellite dropped. I built them what they needed. No contracts, no promises, just clean code and fast response time. I rewrote a legacy Fireline mapping tool that had been crashing mid-upload. The guy who ran it called me at 2 a.m., 3 weeks later, and said, "I don't know how you did it, but it's stable now. I owe you a beer." I said, "No need." He posted about it on a private responder forum. My inbox tripled overnight. By the end of year 1, Northbite had quiet traction. Not flashy, not viral, but useful. I signed 4 new contracts, one with a tribal health clinic to stabilize drone delivery of insulin, another with a reserve unit running fire suppression drills in Nevada. They needed autonomous calibration. I gave them 3 lines of code that shaved 7 minutes off deployment. Grandma mailed me another envelope. No note this time, just a check for $650. I never cashed it. I framed it. In year 2, I hired 2 contractors, quiet ones. One had done fleet logistics in Kandahar. The other had rebuilt drone firmware after a vendor collapse in Idaho. They didn't want equity. They just wanted to do good work without being called dramatic. We developed 3 modules in 6 months. A predictive delivery map based on live weather radar, a thermal compensation tool for drone drop calibration in high heat zones, and a real-time failsafe that could reroute in under 5 seconds during comms loss. By then we were running stable ops across 5 states. The contracts weren't huge, but they were repeatable. We didn't advertise. We didn't brand. The people who used our systems just knew where to find us. In the 3rd year, we got flagged by a subcontractor working with the Department of Defense. He was overseeing a disaster preparedness drill and said our tools ran circles around the stuff they were currently paying for. We didn't believe him at first. 2 months later, we were called into a secure base in Nevada. They didn't ask for resumes. They gave us coordinates, a comms protocol, and 48 hours to deliver a simulation. We delivered in 36. I never spoke in the meetings. I just set up the servers, handed them the keys, and ran silent debug while the officers watched their screens. After the 3rd drill, one of them muttered, "Jesus, this is faster than lockstep routing." They invited me to a 2nd site. Higher security, higher stakes. We signed our first 6-figure contract the next week. It came with a non-disclosure clause, a non-competition clause, and a brief mention of emergency protocol escalation. I kept Grandma updated through paper letters. She never asked for more. That summer, we hit $1.2 million in recurring revenue. No investors, no loans, no office. I bought Grandma a small home in Boston, all cash, quiet neighborhood, trees, a wide window that overlooked the park. She moved without ceremony. She told the family she wanted a change of pace. No one questioned it. They hadn't seen me in 3 years. Then Thanksgiving came. My mother called in September. She left a voicemail. "It's been too long. We'd love to see you." I didn't respond. 2 days later, my brother messaged me, "Come for Thanksgiving. No drama, just family." I said yes. I booked a flight to Des Moines and rented a car. Grandma came too, though no one expected her. When we arrived, the driveway was full. Cars parked on the grass. My mother met us at the door wearing a new shade of lipstick and a cashmere sweater. "Emily," she said, smiling like we were acquaintances, "it's been forever." Inside, the table was set for 20. My stepfather's new girlfriend was hosting this year. Her name was Lacey, but everyone called her Sugar. She wore a tactical vest and boots indoors. She was loud, confident, and quick to correct people. Her father, Hank, was ex-military, airborne, now retired. He stood near the head of the table and announced, "No phones during dinner. House rule." I nodded. My phone was already in my pocket, screen down. Grandma whispered, "Let them talk." Dinner was loud. Someone made a joke about my brother's politics phase. Someone else asked if I was still doing that freelancing thing. I didn't answer. I didn't correct them. Halfway through dinner, my earpiece buzzed. A voice in my ear. "General Reyes, the president is on secure line." I didn't move. Didn't speak. The voice repeated, "Secure line, encrypted tablet required." Hank noticed. "What's that in your ear?" Before I could answer, he reached over and snatched my bag from the floor. He unzipped it and pulled out a matte black encrypted tablet. My credentials were locked behind a biometric scan. He flipped it over. "What is this?" he said. I reached for it calmly. From the tablet speaker, "Who is holding this channel?" The room went quiet. Hank looked confused. The voice repeated, more urgent, "Identify, this is a secure channel. Vice presidential contact in progress." Hank dropped the tablet like it had burned him. Then came the knock at the door. 2 men. Suits. Calm. Identifiers clipped inside their coats. My mother stepped back. "Can I help you?" One of them glanced at a device, then up at me. "Miss Rose, we need you to confirm contact authentication." I stepped forward. Code word blue glass. Response green light 7. He nodded. "Clear. You're needed on line 3. I took the tablet, verified identity, and spoke one sentence into the mic. "Yes, Madam Vice President. I'm with family. Situation under control." The line clicked. The agents nodded. One of them smiled faintly. "Happy Thanksgiving." They left. I sat back down, picked up my fork. The room stayed silent. Hank cleared his throat. "So what exactly is it that you do?" I didn't answer. I looked at Grandma. She smiled. A cousin muttered, "She just freelances, right?" An aunt whispered, "That didn't sound like freelance." My mother tried to laugh. Emily's always been a little private. Then someone's phone buzzed. Another buzzed, then another. One of the kids at the table said, "Why is Aunt Emily on wired?" Uncle Mark picked up his phone, read aloud, "Remote Logistics Queen, North Bytes $53 million acquisition, interview with founder Emily Rose." He turned his phone to show the headline. My photo was beneath it. Dark jacket, plain background, calm face. He looked at me. "This you?" I nodded once. "Yes," I said. "That's me." Someone dropped a fork. Another person whispered, "She never even told us." My mother stood. "We always knew she was special." I looked at her. Then I said, without raising my voice, "Did any of you ever ask?" By the next morning, the article had made the rounds. My face, unfiltered, unsmiling, was on half the phones in that house. It was a plain headshot, cropped tight, the kind they use when someone matters more than anyone expected. Under it, "Emily Rose, founder, North Byte acquired. Quiet power in quieter spaces." I didn't read the article again. I knew what it said. I had approved the draft myself weeks before. They'd asked if I wanted to pose for something styled. I'd said no. They asked if I wanted to list my degrees. I said, "List the systems I've built. That's enough." The house was quieter that morning. No one said it directly, but they avoided me in pairs. Bathroom trips, coffee refills, fake phone calls. People spoke around me, not to me. Like I was dangerous now or worse. Proof. Grandma sat on the porch, reading the paper like nothing had changed. She smiled when I brought her tea. "Your aunt tried to ask about you earlier," she said, flipping the page. "I told her you'd always been exactly like this. They just hadn't noticed." Inside, I passed my mother in the hallway. She stopped in front of the mirror and said, loud enough to be overheard, "She could have shared this with us. It didn't have to be this way." That was her angle now. Wounded benevolence. In the kitchen, 2 cousins scrolled through the article. One of them whispered, "Why does she use a different last name?" The other shrugged. Maybe she got married. I didn't correct them. After lunch, Uncle Mark pulled me aside. He'd been quiet all weekend, a man who watched more than he spoke. He asked one question. Is it true? I nodded. Every word. He put a hand on my shoulder. Good, he said. It's about time someone broke the pattern. I didn't ask what pattern he meant. I already knew. That evening, my mother asked to talk privately. She led me into the den like she was guiding a guest, closed the door behind us. The curtains were drawn. The lighting was soft. She sat down, folded her hands, and used the same tone she used when apologizing for things she didn't regret. You could have shared this with us. I didn't sit. Why? She blinked. Because we're your family. I said nothing. She tried again. We could have helped, celebrated with you. I met her eyes. You called a company to sabotage me. Her mouth tightened. You don't know that for sure. I know the words they used came from your voice. She didn't deny it. She just looked down at her hands. You're not the only one who's had to make sacrifices. I waited. She cleared her throat. We were trying to protect you. At the time, it felt like the right thing. I said nothing. She glanced up. We didn't expect all this. I kept my voice even. I did. Silence. Then, so what now? Do you hate us? I shook my head. Hate takes energy. I don't give you that anymore. Her voice cracked just slightly. Emily, I know I made mistakes, but I'm still your mother. I nodded once. That's true, but I'm not your secret. She looked away. Her jaw clenched. I don't know what you want from me. So I told her, calmly, clearly, without anger. I want 3 things. She looked up. 1. You tell the family the real reason I left school. You tell them in your own words, before New Year's. She blinked. What? That's private. I held up a hand. 2. You delete the family group chat. Let people speak to me directly, or not at all. And 3. You start therapy. You don't have to tell me how it goes. You don't have to talk about it at all, but you start. She stared at me stunned, not because it was too much, but because it wasn't. You're giving me terms? I'm giving you a choice. She stood. Her voice dropped. You're trying to punish me. No, I'm drawing a boundary. There's a difference. She crossed her arms. And if I say no? I didn't answer. I just opened the door and walked out. That night, Grandma and I left early. We didn't say goodbye. I booked a private car to the airport. Our luggage was light. I carried my tablet in my lap the whole way back. No one tried to reach out. A week passed. Then an email arrived from my mother. No subject line, just 3 sentences. I've scheduled an appointment with a therapist. That's all I can do right now. Mom, I read it once. Saved it. Didn't reply. That winter, Northbite finalized the acquisition. The press called it a surprise play from a silent company. The buyers wanted our routing architecture for field deployment. I stayed on as VP of product. My title didn't matter. My access did. The buyout included relocation to Boston. I bought a 3-bedroom apartment across from a small park. Trees, clean sidewalks, quiet. Grandma took the back room. I gave her a desk by the window. She started painting again, just watercolors. Birds, mostly. Once she painted a drone, said it looked like a hawk. We laughed. I kept working. Different scale, same discipline. Distributed disaster response, modular deployment kits, field calibration systems. I stopped attending industry conferences. I didn't do podcasts. I declined awards. I didn't need to be known, just effective. Occasionally, people from my past found the articles. A college roommate reached out. An old neighbor sent a message. Is this really you? I replied once, simply, yes. I didn't explain. One morning, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Postmark from Iowa. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, written in my sister's handwriting. I won't pretend I understood what you were doing. I believed what they told me. I shouldn't have. You don't owe me anything, but I wanted you to know I see it now. I'm sorry. R. I read it twice, folded it, placed it in a drawer. I didn't call her. I didn't need to. We're not close. But we're honest now. That's something. The rest of the family didn't say much. Some unfollowed me online. Others stayed silent, unsure what version of the story they were allowed to believe. I let the silence do its work. People underestimate silence. They think it means guilt or weakness or surrender. But silence can be a boundary. It can be presence. It can be power. I didn't post about the acquisition. I didn't announce the move. I didn't write a thread about overcoming odds. I just kept going. I don't sit at tables where my name is only spoken in pity. I don't attend gatherings where I'm expected to shrink so others feel more comfortable. I don't explain my choices to people who never asked why they were made. There's a peace in that, not a dramatic one, a clean one. Some people ask if I regret it. Leaving school, vanishing, building alone. I don't. The cost was real, but so was the return. The silence I live in now isn't empty. It's mine. I don't live in the past, but I don't ignore it. I live in Boston now. Northbite's acquisition meant relocation, not mandatory, but advised. Closer to the new parent company, closer to the infrastructure they plan to scale. I didn't argue. I looked at the map and chose a unit 6 blocks from the public garden. It wasn't the most expensive or the most strategic. It was quiet. That mattered more. 3 bedrooms. 1 for me, 1 for the office, 1 for Grandma. The floors are real wood. The windows lock properly. The street gets early light. At night, the park across the way fills with soft silhouettes. Couples walking, runners, a man who feeds raccoons with surgical precision. No one knows who I am here. I like that. The new platform I'm building doesn't have a name yet. Internally, we call it ND3, Northbite Disaster, Phase 3. It's a layered logistics grid for distributed disaster response. Not flashy, just effective. Fully autonomous routing, sub-10-second rerouting for damaged paths, AI load predictions based on pattern disruptions. It's being tested in 3 pilot cities. I monitor the metrics every morning before sunrise. Most days, I don't need to touch them. Grandma has a small desk by the window. She paints in the mornings, quiet watercolors, landscapes mostly. Sometimes she paints from memory, sometimes from still photos. She painted a drone once, but only because I asked. She made it look like a bird. The proportions were wrong, but the spirit was right. Some days we sit without speaking for hours. I don't fill the space. I never needed to. She taught me that silence is not a void. It's a room you build, brick by brick, where you decide what enters. In January, I received a call from my mother's therapist. She left a message. Your mother asked if you'd consider joining a family session. I didn't return the call. The next day, I got an email from the same address. Just a PDF, a scanned letter. Emily, I know you don't owe me anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just time. I've told the truth, as you asked. I deleted the group chat. I'm still going to therapy. If you ever want to speak, I'll be here. Mom, I saved it. I didn't reply. My sister sends letters now. Not often. 3 in the last 6 months. She never asks for anything. She doesn't explain. She doesn't justify. Just plain handwriting on plain paper. The last one said, I'm applying for a position at the county clerk's office. It's not impressive, but it's steady. I'm learning to be steady. You don't have to write back. I didn't. But I kept the letter. The cousin who dropped his spoon at Thanksgiving sent me a friend request. I ignored it. One aunt sent a Christmas card with a note. I hope Boston is treating you well. No return address. No one else contacted me. Sometimes people ask what it's like to go from unknown to whatever I am now. They ask if I feel vindicated, or triumphant, or proud. I say I feel clear. I remember when that wasn't true. I remember the year in Lubbock, carrying Grandma's groceries up uneven stairs, tracking insulin shipments on a cracked phone, writing code on 3 hours of sleep, skipping meals to make rent. I remember watching a company rescind an offer because my mother called me unstable. I remember driving home with numb hands on the wheel and a silence so dense it pressed into my lungs like weather. But I also remember the first time a drone touched down exactly where it was supposed to, in a heat zone, under signal loss, with no hands on the wheel. I remember the first letter from Grandma that said simply, "Keep going." I remember the first contract signed without a meeting, the first check that cleared, the first server deployment that didn't crash once. Those are the things I carried here. People think erasure is healing, that if you cut off the parts of the past that hurt, you'll be clean again. That's not how it works. You carry what shaped you, but you get to decide where you put it. I don't sit at tables where silence is forced. I don't return to rooms that only know me through old rumors. I don't explain my name, my work, my choices. I show up, I do what I came to do, and I leave. I built a life where that is enough. Sometimes people send me their resumes. They say, "I don't have a degree, but I can build." Or, "My family thinks I'm wasting my time." Or, "No one ever believed I could do this." I read everyone. I don't hire everyone, but I respond to all of them. Sometimes I just write, "Keep building." Sometimes they don't need to see it yet. You do. One woman wrote last week and said, "My brother keeps telling people I'm unemployed. I've built 2 full platforms from scratch. I just haven't shipped yet." I told her, "You don't owe them an announcement. You owe yourself a clean deployment." She wrote back, "Thank you for not making me feel dramatic." I wrote, "It's not dramatic to want to be seen without having to shout." She sent a heart emoji. I archived the message. Sometimes I wonder what people expect me to say now. That it all worked out? That I feel healed? That I forgive everything? I don't. Some things don't get resolved. They just stop controlling you, and that's enough. I take walks with Grandma when the weather holds. She moves slowly, but she's steady. We don't talk much on those walks, just the crunch of leaves, the hum of traffic, the occasional bark of someone else's dog. It's better that way. She asked me once, quietly, if I thought the rest of the family would come around. I said, "They don't have to." She nodded. "Good," she said. "It's quieter without them." She still has her old flip phone. It rings loud enough to wake the whole apartment. She answers it every time. I asked her once why she still keeps it. "Because I still love them," she said. "Even after what they did, love doesn't mean permission." That stayed with me. I don't know what comes next. Northbite will keep building. The platform will expand. The contracts will grow. Eventually, someone will ask if I want to step down or step up or sell again. I'll decide then. I don't wake up with anxiety anymore. I don't brace for the next comment, the next correction, the next moment someone tries to rewrite who I am with a smile. That kind of silence, the old kind, the shrinking kind, is gone. What's left is different. It's the silence of having nothing left to prove. The silence of knowing I was never lost, just uninvited. And now, I don't need their invitation. If you're the one your family turned into background, the quiet one, the failure, the burden they never said aloud, you're not alone. You don't have to stay at the table that forgets your name until it's useful. You don't have to shout. You don't have to beg. You can leave quietly. You can build something outside their view, and when the silence finally belongs to you, it won't hurt. It will hold. Are you carrying something like this? Have you left a room that never saw you? You're welcome to share what you've built. If this story stayed with you, you can follow along. Quietly. No pressure. I'll be here.